The Minister of Agriculture reports successful efforts to resolve a recent chicken shortage. New legislation governing the reuse of water, which officials say is critical for building resilience against climate change. The Prison Service told it may need to strengthen its rehabilitation programs.
Broadcasting from our studios in the Pine St. Michael, this is CBC NewsNight, starting now.
Good evening, I'm Pearson Bowen. Barbadians will have a happy independence and Merry Christmas with an adequate supply of chicken on their tables. The promise from Minister of Agriculture, Food and Nutritional Security Indar Ware as he reports successful efforts to resolve a recent chicken shortage. Nesta Henry reports.
Chicken is returning to supermarket shelves and fast food outlets are again accessing adequate amounts of the commodity to do their business. This is according to Minister of Agriculture, Food and Nutritional Security Indar Ware, who's given the assurance there will be an adequate supply for the Christmas season. He tells CBC News he met with poultry producers, representatives of the Barbados Hotel and the Tourism Association, and other stakeholders on Monday.
The processors are producing more chickens. More chickens were placed in the period of October when we started to see these changes taking place. And you will see that a lot more chicken now will be on the shelves going forward. And we are also catering to the fast food restaurants as well, and all the restaurants within the hospitality sector to make sure that they can get their full supply of chicken. The poultry producers have confirmed to me that they are meeting all of the quotas from last year, so that those that were placed last year, they would guarantee those supplies up to this year as well, and then a possible 10% also increase over last year.
The minister adds, given the increasing number of visitors to the island at this time, an app has been developed to help officials track chicken production and availability on the island.
We have developed now an app that is going to help us in real time measure what chicken is available, what quantities are required daily, and it was brought to my attention that we consume at this point in time 50,000 kilograms of chicken per day. You multiply that by 365 and you start to see the millions of kilograms of chicken that is consumed in Barbados. So this app will now help us to plan for that, and in real time we will know what is available and what is needed.
And Mr. Ware says despite the current shortages of produce, arrangements are being made to ensure Barbadians do not have to pay unusually high prices for fruits and vegetables this Christmas. He says after talks with St. Vincent's Minister of Agriculture, it has been agreed that the weekly shipment of produce from that island to Barbados will resume from the first week in December.
So that will take care of the concerns that the vendors had in terms of short supply, because the boat wasn't coming every week. And there should be no increase in prices, really, since the supplies will be coming frequently.
Meanwhile, Mr. Ware says his ministry is in constant discussion with farmers about increasing production for the last quarter of this year. Nesta Henry, CBC News.
The way is being paved for more individuals and businesses to be able to treat water for non-potable use, a move officials say can help the island with some of its water shortage issues. New legislation to govern the process is on the books in the form of the Water Reuse Act and will cover the capture, collection, treatment and reuse or sale of wastewater for various purposes. Rachel Agard reports.
There are already 5 plants in operation for the reuse of water, with more than 60 to be licensed once they meet the requirements. Licenses will be valid for a 2-year period, and Acting Chief Environmental Health Officer Ronald Chapman warns those who run afoul of the legislation by not having the requisite permits can be charged up to $200,000 or face 10 years imprisonment. Additionally, he says those who prohibit inspectors from doing their job can be fined $50,000 or face 5 years in prison.
We are working to ensure the safety of the public. this is reused water. This is not potable water coming directly from the Barbados Water Authority. Therefore, it is necessary that that water, that we manage that water correctly, and we ensure that the risk to the public is reduced and the fines are of such so that the public's interest is sought after in a very vigorous way.
Environmental health specialist with responsibility for water, sanitation and climate change in the Ministry of Health, Steve Daniel, says it's important to understand any potential risks are taken care of in the legislation. He says one of the major requirements is a plant's capacity to disinfect treated effluent along with color-coded pipes.
One of the most important things that they should have in place would be color-coded pipes. So, for instance, any pipe that is delivering water that is treated from the treatment facility should be purple in color, and there should be signage. There should be evidence of record keeping and testing by the operator himself. And the purpose of the color coding is pretty kind of obvious. It would be of a different color than what a normal potable pipe would carry. And to support this, it shows that there's still work to be done because it will require even plumbers to meet a particular standard and understand what the color codes mean and the risks and what is at stake.
The Water Reuse Act was passed on May 24th, 2023, and will ensure the safety of the island's water supply. Rachel Agard, CBC News.
We've also been told water from the South Coast treatment plant is to be redirected for agricultural use. This includes recharging the aquifers at Gibbons Boggs, Christchurch. Acting Chief Executive Officer of the Barbados Agricultural Development and Marketing Corporation, Frederick Innes, says this will be a game changer for agriculture, with about 10,000 acres of land estimated to be impacted as a result.
Much of that is already just rain-fed, so we only get real significant production from those areas during the latter part of the year, and then you're contesting with too much water in many cases. I think it is just a question of how can we improve the lot of those farmers, and this, I believe, is one of those significant impacts.
Criminal Justice Research and Planning Unit has suggested the prison service may need to strengthen its rehabilitation programs given Barbados' high recidivism rate. Director Cheryl Willoughby says recent research points to a link between recidivism and rehabilitation. She was a guest on Morning Barbados.
If you're not rehabilitated, you're going to reoffend when you leave the prison because some of the risk factors have not been addressed in prison. So that's what we're doing, and that's part of the activities that we have for next week, where we are meeting with the prison staff as well as probation and all those other agencies that work with inmates so that they have an idea of what they need to focus on in order for us to see a reduction in the number of young people who are reoffending.
The National Crime Prevention and Reduction Unit has been working alongside the Criminal Justice Research and Planning Unit to secure data in order to plan and execute programs to assist Barbadian youth. Acting Director Alison Roach Plummer says they've been working to empower and engage youth.
Some of the persons that we interacted with said exactly what Director Willoughby said. Some of them have been incarcerated, came up, but there wasn't anything for them to do. What was it? And some of them are highly skilled, well-skilled, well-educated, but they seem as though, what more can we offer to society, to Barbados, to help us as well, be more empowered to do more. And we've had several programs throughout the last year. We've had the parenting program. We've had initiatives that, again, touch the actual lives of these people that we're working with. And most of what we have seen, Tisha, is that they have been very responsive to it, and engaging with us.
The second regional symposium on crime, which is being hosted by Barbados in Guyana, got underway with a warning to criminals from Trinidad and Tobago's Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley. They've been told Caribbean states will snuff out embers that fuel crime in the region. Dr. Rowley is upbeat as he reported progress has been made with regard to the CARICOM arrest warrant legislation.
The legislation to facilitate the harmonization of laws across the community have notably facilitated the completion of the template legislation for the CARICOM arrest warrant bill. I am particularly pleased to hear that we are there. Our little criminal punks must now know that every CARICOM territory, the law applies to them equally.
In his address, President of Guyana, Dr. Irfan Ali, focused on the impact crime is having on regional economies. He says states are spending up to 31% of their expenditure directly and indirectly in the crime fight. President Ali says research shows the majority of crimes are being committed by young men.
Young men falling behind in education and job. And this has a direct linkage. If we take a deeper dive, we would see that in Guyana, I'll give you one example, 66% of students at the University of Guyana are now women. 66% of the total intake at the University of Guyana are women. And when you look at the scholarship program, more than 70% of the total scholarships available, which is in the last 4 years is more than 30,000, are taken up by women. The consequential effect is that 85% of the violent crime are committed by our male. So where is their attention being directed to?
Violence as a public health issue, the crime challenge, is the theme for the symposium. Heads of government will also participate in roundtable discussions focusing on cultural influences on crime, the role of music and its influence on crime, and the reform of the criminal justice sector and offender management. Details have emerged of the outcome of bilateral talks between Barbados Prime Minister Mia Amar Motley and India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Those talks took place on the sidelines of the CARICOM India Summit in Guyana. In a post on social media, Ms. Motley says the meeting focused on institutional reforms, economic collaboration, and the empowerment of the Global South. Key discussions included political support for reforms, potential collaborations in the pharmaceutical industry, and the idea of establishing a Caribbean bank. India's Ministry of External Affairs, meanwhile, says the high-level engagement provided an opportunity for both leaders to reaffirm and strengthen the bilateral relationship between India and Barbados. Well, still to come, the Ministry of Agriculture offers advice amid concerns about an increase in the presence of bees on some schools' compounds. A senior Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Nutritional Security officer is advising school authorities to keep the surroundings clean and garbage bins covered at all times to reduce the presence of bees on their properties. Senior Agricultural Assistant Bernard Thompson is giving the advice amid concerns about issues with bees at schools in recent weeks, including Wilkie Cumberbatch Primary. Classes there have been disrupted on 2 occasions.
Find covers for them or replace the bins with bins that have covers. That is one. If they can't have covers, then we're asking them to at least empty the bins shortly after break and lunch so that the bees don't congregate around the bins. In the classrooms, it will be advisable then for them to sanitize the desks where the children would have sat and eat, to sanitize those desks for any liquid that might have spilled on the desk.
Thompson is urging children and adults not to run or keep noise if bees are hovering around them. He says they attack and sting when they feel threatened.
So we're asking persons now, if they see a bee, hovering around, just briskly walk away. Avoid the fanning action, just briskly walk away and get out of the bee's path, right? In the schools, the same thing can happen. Let the children know not to fan, but just walk away, okay? Avoid, because the children tend to run a lot. Avoid that running when they see bees, because that not only creates a sudden movement, but also can create, especially if they're in a building with a wooden floor, can create sudden vibrations, and the bees will pick it up.
Barbados has welcomed the launch of a new initiative aimed at fast-tracking financial support for vulnerable countries to protect against climate and disaster risk. Ambassador Elizabeth Thompson, Sherpa to Prime Minister Mia Amor Motley on matters related to the CVF V20 Barbados presidency, officially launched the Global Shield Ambition on Wednesday. That event took place at the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change Conference in Azerbaijan. Delivering the feature address, Ambassador Thompson underscored the importance of the initiative for debt-strapped countries like those in the Caribbean.
The concept of innovative financing, of reform of the global financial architecture, of the objective and imperative of access to capital remains a significant priority for Barbados. The mobilization of capital, creating access to capital, creating access at scale, and making it readily available to those who need in their time of need is of the utmost importance, because the intention is that it must move us from survival to sustainability to resilience.
Ambassador Thompson says the Global Shield Ambition offers countries proven, pre-arranged, country-owned financial solutions which will help to create liquidity as countries need it.
This is absolutely important because it de-risks climate vulnerability and creates the environment for investment in our countries, and in fact also de-risks investment and investment capital, and that is absolutely central to growth, development and resilience building. I therefore want again to thank all of you, to make the point that in the design of this initiative, it is not one size fits all, that it is intended that each will have its own unique flavor representing the DNA of the individual countries and their peculiar circumstances.
Barbados remains regional leaders in the culinary arena, and they proved this by retaining the Caribbean National Team of the Year title at this year's Caribbean Hotel and Tourism Association's Taste of the Caribbean competition. Well, Barbados went up against 6 other countries and impressed the judges after winning the last competition held in 2019. Rachel Agard met the team on arrival at the Grantley Adams International Airport, and she filed this report.
The Barbados Hotel and Tourism Association's Barbados National Culinary Team has added 2 gold medals, 3 silvers, and the first-time title of Junior Chef of the Year to its collection. And they have stoutly defended their title as winners of the Caribbean Hotel and Tourism Association's culinary competition. Culinary coach, Chef Damien Leash, says preparation, although short, was key to their winning performance.
We had a real short training session this year, and we were a little worried, to be honest, when we first selected the team, but the guys put in some real good work over the last 3 months. Not just the team, but the management team as well. We worked really hard with them, and they went across there and they deliver. I was really impressed, as were the judges, obviously, because we bring home these shiny plates. So, I mean, we happy.
Caribbean Junior Chef of the Year, 21-year-old Dijon Toppin, says as a first-time competitor, he did not know what to expect, but he went there with the intention to make his country proud.
The process was hard. Like, we trained 3 days a week. It was not always easy. The training was difficult, but throughout it all, we learned and just went over and delivered. Well, I can't see the future, but I would just say to continue doing what I love and just see where it takes me.
Meanwhile, BHTA's Special Projects Manager Tessa Lee Moore says going forward, they intend to continue developing culinary talent on the island.
that looks more like training and development and talking to different culinary chefs. The CHTA would have announced that they are going to start a program and an initiative to continue to develop the culinary talent on the Caribbean level.
The competition was held from November 18th to 20th in South Florida. Rachel Agard, CBC News.
Thanks, Rachel. The Senate has passed a resolution for Barbados to borrow $600 million from 3 commercial banks. It was also passed in the lower house on Tuesday. Minister in the Ministry of Economic Affairs and Investment, Senator Chad Blackman, says the loan will be used to repay higher interest loans. The savings will be redirected to pay back a capital loan from the Inter-American Development Bank and the Green Climate Fund to construct a tertiary sewage treatment plant in Graham Hall, Christchurch. Senator Blackman suggests the debate should not be partisan.
This is about Barbados, okay? Now, when we look at the long-term sustainability efforts and the administration's efforts of what we're trying to do, particularly in the context of climate resilience, this bill is going to be key. The climate crisis is one where we all are affected in this region, and we must ensure that we put the country on a long-term sustainable footing to have the capacity to respond to those eventualities.
Well, CIBC is lending $360 million, Royal Bank $140 million, and Scotiabank $100 million. Now, the opposition Democratic Labour Party, Senator Andre Worrell, voiced concern over the level of borrowing under the Barbados Labour Party. He queried if the resolution, Section 2 of the Special Loans Act, Cap 105, will benefit Barbados. Senator Worrell suggests the resolution is missing critical information.
In my simple explanation, I will see it as going to the bank to refinance your mortgage. It means that you still have a mortgage to pay. So at the end of the day, if it is not a new loan or a refinance loan, it is still a loan that you have to pay at some point in time. So the jury is still out on that. But we need to ask the questions here because it is talking about a debt swap, where higher interest loans are going to be bought back and lower interest loans are going to be issued. So who are the holders of the bonds being affected?
However, in response to Senator Worrell, Senator Blackman reiterates the new resolution will not incur new debt. He says the loans are being taken to build capacity of Barbados.
Economic mismanagement has significant implications. It's not just about pointing fingers, you did this, you did that. No, no, no. These things have long implications long after the actors have gone and have been voted out. And people now have to come and roll up their sleeves and put their hand in the proverbial muck and spend time and loans that they're talking about to fix the wrongs that they should have done. This is where we are as a country. We are taking these loans to build the capacity of this nation. We're not taking these loans to line anybody's pocket or to do things that would cause you to end up in a penitentiary in foreign lands. No. This is to build the capacity.
Meanwhile, Independent Senator Dr. Crystal Drakes says Barbados has to step up its game as it relates to policy and planning in relation to water and wastewater management.
Because to come and tell us we have a shiny new plant down on the South Coast means nothing to the people that still getting brown water, Mr. President, have issues with their meters. They don't know who to turn to in relation to recourse. But the government is 10 steps ahead. Meet us back here sometimes. We want y'all to come back. Deal with the structural issues as it relates to the operation, the legislative framework, and the policy development for the water sector in Barbados.
Let's get over to Sports Night now. Anne-Marie, good evening.
Good evening to you, Pearson. And we start with news of cricket. After a shaky start, the West Indies were able to finish the first day of the first test against Bangladesh at the Viv Richards Stadium in Antigua on 250 for 5. Mikhail Louis and Alec Anthonys fell just short of centuries, with Louis having a knock of 97, while Anthonys was dismissed for 90. Taskin Ahmed took 2 for 46. Coverage of Day 2 starts from 10 a.m. tomorrow on MCTV's ESPN Channel 308 and also on Radio 94.7 FM. It's now 50 years since two West Indies cricketing greats of all time took to the field. On this date in 1974, Barbadian Sir Gordon Greenidge and Antiguan Sir Viv Richards made their test debuts in India in the city of Bangalore. In an exclusive interview, Sir Gordon remembered the occasion.
Getting the nod to play for West Indies, and in my first test as well too, in a land that people felt was very strange to go and play, and I managed to actually sort of accomplish perhaps a dream that most people would have had. So I'm just happy to have had the opportunity to play for the West Indies, and also for as long as I was able to.
Sir Viv says securing a place on the West Indies team back then was definitely more difficult than these days.
The mindset of selectors in those days, I felt that I was on my last lap. So I had was to get something done to do much better than I did in Bangalore. And when I won 92, I think, or 192, if I remember. Clicks not out, you know. Yeah, that was a serious comeback, and it sort of created the confidence that any young man needs in order for you to have a successful tour.
Both legends were speaking with global media consultant Philip Spooner. Well, the 2024 CG United Super 50 Cup final will be between Barbados Pride and Jamaica Scorpions. Scorpions joined the Pride in the final thanks to last night's win over the Leeward Hurricanes in semi-final number 2 at the Marilara Cricket Academy in Trinidad. As we reported last night, Scorpions batted first and posted a 2024 record total of 352 for 9, led by an unbeaten 114 from Javal Glenn, which included 10 fours and 6 sixes. In reply, Hurricanes are restricted to 245 off 35.4 overs for Scorpions to win by 107 runs. Kofi James outscored 79, that included 7 fours and 5 sixes, while Jamara Hamilton added 58. Marquino Minley took 4 for 46. The final between the Pride and Scorpions is set for 1 p.m. tomorrow and will be live on MCTV's ESPN channel. Pearson, that's my first look at sports. When I return, there's so much more happening, and I'll let you know all about it.
Looking forward to that. Thank you, Anne-Marie. We'll take a break. We're back with tonight's business report. In business now, there are efforts to increase partnerships between the United Kingdom, Scotland and Barbados. Minister of Energy and Business Senator Lisa Cummins made that revelation as she addressed the winding up reception of a UK-Scottish trade mission to Barbados at the residence of the British High Commissioner last night. Trevor Thorpe reports.
Members of the trade mission have been told about some of the opportunities available in the renewable sector in Barbados. They also heard new areas are also being added to the industry.
And next week, I'll tease you a little bit, we will be opening the offices here in Barbados of our very first hydrogen project. And there are opportunities also for expansion. So just a snapshot of what we're doing in the energy sector would give you an opportunity to see just a glimpse of what some of the prospects are for investment in Barbados and investment in partnership with local companies.
The Energy and Business Minister says Barbados is a leader in the renewable energy sector and has the highest density of solar penetration in the world for a country of its size. She says this means there are opportunities for partnerships.
I'm also proud to say that in January, we will be launching the long talked about wind project. 30 to 60 megawatts. Initially, we started with 30 to 50 megawatts. Now we're increasing the size based on the studies that have been completed. And last year, January, I had the opportunity to travel to Scotland to spend some time looking at the investments that have been made in onshore and offshore wind. There are opportunities to partner with Barbados in the area of wind.
British High Commissioner His Excellency Scott Furzett-on-Wood says the trade mission presents golden opportunities for UK and Scottish firms to form partnerships in one of the most dynamic parts of the world.
And I'm glad to say that as well, we begin to see more and more of this partnership manifest itself in the business and trade relationship between our two countries. There's already a lot to celebrate. There's much, much, much more we can do together. And I'm really excited that what we've seen here in Barbados with our visitors coming in from Scotland and across the United Kingdom, we've seen more opportunities present themselves. And crucially, we've seen those opportunities being converted into real wins.
The UK-Scottish trade mission is the fifth of its kind and has been described as a success. Trevor Thorpe for the Business Report.
Businesses have a critical role to play in supporting the youth of the nation. That's according to President of the Barbados Chamber of Commerce and Industry, James Clark, who's calling on business leaders to begin investing in youth-focused initiatives and mentorship programs. Mr. Clark says businesses shape the lives of young men through creating internship opportunities, fostering entrepreneurship, and investing in initiatives that empower the next generation. He was addressing the opening of the Chamber's From Boys to Men discussion held to commemorate International Men's Day 2024. That event, designed to foster resilience and purpose in the next generation of men, empowered the participants with tools for managing challenges facing young men in society.
Supporting youth entrepreneurship can be a powerful tool for reducing violence and transforming communities, offering young men pathways to success and self-sufficiency. These programs also provide young men with tools to manage conflict and build resilience and make purpose-driven choices and help them navigate the modern environment in which we all live.
Time for the trading report.
In Jamaica, Victon Energy Limited, with 10,239,023 units, was the volume leader, followed by Lasco Distributors Limited and Trans-Jamaican Highway Limited. In Trinidad and Tobago, Massey Holdings Limited was the volume leader, with 149,000 shares changing hands for a value of Trinidad and Tobago $594,800, followed by National Enterprises Limited. And here in Barbados, Cave Shepherd & Company Limited was the sole security, trading 18,000 shares at Barbados $7.50 each.
Please.
Time for the weather now. Let's join Carrie-Ann O'Neill. Carrie-Ann, good evening.
Good evening to you, Pearson, and good evening, everyone. Well, mixed weather conditions prevailed here in Barbados today. The winds generally across the region, they're light to moderate, and it was mostly fair across the Guianas. The maximum temperature today was 30 degrees Celsius, the minimum 26 degrees. At present, the temperature stands at 26 degrees Celsius. The relative humidity, 86%. The winds, they're coming in from the east and northeast. We take a look now at some atmospheric conditions across the region. Those warm temperatures are ranging from 24 to 29 degrees Celsius. Now the humidity shows moisture is building across the southern islands, and the winds, they are light to moderate across the region. We take a look now at our satellite feed, where we had the ridge pattern along with a confluence pattern maintaining fair to occasionally cloudy skies, along with some showers here in Barbados. We had up to 17.2 millimeters of rainfall in St. Andrew. Meanwhile, those winds are generally light to moderate. They're peaking for us here in Barbados at 15 knots. The seas moderate in open water, with swells now peaking at 2 meters. We are urging small craft operators as well as sea bathers to exercise caution, especially along the western coastlines. Now, beachgoers, we are urging you to utilize those beaches with an on-duty lifeguard. Later on tonight, we are expecting that we'll continue to see a few of those clouds drifting across the island. As a result, we can expect a mix of clear and cloudy skies along with some light showers and a very slight chance of some isolated thunderstorms. Further south, across the Guianas, well, it was mostly fair. And over now in the Western Caribbean, there is a cold front there, maintaining very wet conditions across eastern Bahamas as well as eastern Cuba. Elsewhere had mostly fair skies. Well, that's our first look at the weather. After the break, we'll have the forecast. Welcome back. In the forecast for tomorrow, the sun is expected to rise at 6:01 and will set at 5:29. The first high tide, that's expected at 10:31 in the morning, and the first low at 3:53 in the early morning. Now, those seas are moderate and open water with swells peaking at 2 meters. Once again, we are urging small craft operators as well as sea bathers to exercise caution, especially along the western coastline. The winds, they're coming in from the east and they're peaking at 35 kilometers per hour. For us here in Barbados tonight, we can expect a mix of clear and cloudy skies along with some light showers and a very slight chance of some isolated thunderstorms. Over the next 3 days, a trough system is expected to maintain some showers tomorrow here in Barbados. Thereafter, we are expecting partly cloudy skies along with a few passing showers.
Let's get back to more sports now with Anne-Marie Burke.
And Pearson, the two teams contesting the finals of the Prime Minister's Cup on November 30th will be confirmed on Sunday as the semi-finals of the inaugural football tournament take center stage at Friendship. CBC's Almar Goodrich Boyce previews the matchups.
Thousands of football fans will descend on the Friendship venue on Sunday for what promises to be a memorable night of action, as two teams will book their tickets to travel to the Prime Minister's Cup final with non-stop service to Kensington Oval. Kickstart Rush, Britain's Hill United, UA Blackbirds and Ellerton FC are the Fantastic Four, but only the Terrific Two will earn the right to play for $100,000. Semi-finals number 1 tells the tale of one of the biggest emerging clubs in recent times, Kickstart Rush, going up against two-time Premier League champions, Britain's Hill. The Rush will rely on the prolific Raymar Walters, who is the joint top goal scorer with 7 and has contributed in a major way to the Wildy-based ballers making it this far, netting the lone goal versus Deacons in the round of 16, then twice to send Paradise packing at the quarter-final stage. Britain's Hill, on the other hand, their player to watch is the ever-consistent Ramal Bino, who is being touted in local football circles as the best attacking midfielder on the island with 6 goals. Sharon Hoy is also a force for this team, which secured one of the biggest wins, an 11-1 thrashing of Maxwell back on September 1st. Both of these teams have only been beaten once and are made up of good defence with young players. It's a hard one to call, but my gut feeling is that Kickstart Rush will edge Britain's Hill 2-1. The main event of the night is a story of two of the only undefeated teams remaining. UA Blackbirds looking to soar to new heights, and Ellerton looking to finally win their first silverware for the people of St. George. A blockbuster is really an understatement. Ellerton will have their tails up after sending arch rivals Weymouth Wales out of the competition 2 weeks ago. They have had the hardest route of the semis, finding ways to beat Wales and a stubborn pride of Gaul Hill in the process. Top goal scorer Rashad Jules is the main man to watch, but they also have an X-factor in captain Shaquille Bell, who has found the winner on 2 crucial occasions. The Blackbirds will have their wingman Niall Rees-Stephen, a talent who has scored 5 times in the tournament, but is yet to deliver in the knockout stage. Nevertheless, the goals have been coming, with Carl Ford Blaze and Romario Drates also danger men. Ellerton have the hunger, UAE the desire. My prediction is 1-1 after 90 minutes, but extra time and penalties will be any man's game. Anmar Goodrich Boyce, CBC Sports.
Barbados golfer Emily Ordway sits in second position after day 2 of the Women's Amateur Latin America 2024 golf tournament being played in Lima, Peru. Ordway ended the day at 3 under par behind Mexico's Clarissa Tamilo, who is 7 under. Ordway says her second day was better than yesterday's opening round.
You know, I talked to my coaches last night, and we kind of came up with today the 2 words were going to be conviction and intention, and I just really tried to be convicted and intentional with everything I did out there today, from just how I was walking, drinking my water, to stepping up on the tee and swinging. So I think I just really did a good job of that today, and I was really committed to all of my shots.
The Soup Bowl in basketball will come alive this weekend as the Barbados Surf Association hosts 3 major events: the Independent Surf Pro, the Junior Under-18 Surf Pro, and the National Surfing Championships. The BSA's PRO Margot Tuak says some big names are expected.
The event has welcomed world-class surfers from the United States, Europe, South America, and the Caribbean, including 11-time world champion Kelly Slater. It has also showcased Barbados' top surf talents like basketball legend Mark Holder and local champion Alan Burke. More recently, it has been dominated by top male surfer Joshua Burke and top female surfer Chelsea Tuak, who both have multiple event wins between them.
Pearson, that's it for sports. Back over to you, and have a wonderful weekend.
Likewise. Thank you, Anne-Marie. We're back after this break. And that's our time tonight. Thank you for spending it with us. I'm Pearson Bowen for the crew. To all of you, have a wonderful weekend. Good night.